Hi, thanks for joining, everyone. Hi, good afternoon. So, hi, I'm Veda here. I'm with Flick Global, in charge here of the sales initiative. There's still some of us are joining. Please do join. Feel free to drop in some of the comments that you have in our comment box section. We would love to hear some questions. So today's session, we have set some time to discuss a little bit about what's happening in the Malaysian market, especially on the e-invoicing or adoption into solutions. So we'll go through a few introduction rounds. We'll go through which businesses at which stage might be impacted, and we'll also address some of the commonly asked questions and how our solution and or how Flick would be able to provide solution for businesses to comply and to get on board with this e-invoicing mandate with minimal friction and business as usual with minimal interactions with the technical team, as we'll be able to help provide assistance by integrating with your existing ERP solution. So today's session, we'll have Irshad who will be joining us. He'll be helping us to explain and go through the solution. He's our e-invoicing head. I also have Basil, part of the sales team, global sales team, and also Amin, who would be our DevOps head as well. So this is our team. And for the rest of you all, feel free, if you have any questions, please do drop them in the comment box. We'll be able to compile and address them. But do keep in note, we will have a Q&A session at the end. So if you have any questions, feel free to note it down. We'll be able to address some of the questions. So let's begin. So about Flick, what we have been through throughout our journey, we are a global e-invoicing solution provider. We have been supporting and assisting businesses that are Fortune 500 size, really large enterprises, enabling them to get on board with the e-invoicing mandatory or requirement globally. And we would like to replicate the success that we had here in Malaysia. And most of you guys have joined here. I think we might have some of the challenges or concerns that you have in mind. And we thought that we could go through today's session, showcase some of the features and solutions that we had. And then at the same time, we will try to address some of the questions or concerns that you may have. So let's get right in. Irshad, if you're ready, you can start right now.
Okay, yes. So welcome everyone to this webinar session. So in this webinar, we'll be covering all about LHDN e-invoicing. So we'll first give an introduction and go through the key terms, and then to applicability, timeline, and then different ways of submitting the invoices, then to API demos, ERP demos, and to our sophisticated dashboard and so on. So let's get started with LHDN e-invoicing. So here are the few new terms that has come in along with LHDN e-invoicing. The first thing is Myinvois Portal. So this portal would be a common thing that you would be using once e-invoicing has started for you. So a Myinvois Portal would be a central dashboard between your business and with LHDN. So it's a dashboard provided by LHDN for viewing your invoices, submitting your invoices, and so on. Okay, yes. So UIN or QR code, as I mentioned, these are two new elements added to your PDF. So UIN would mean a unique identifier given by LHDN for that specific invoice, not just for invoice, be it credit note, debit note, or any other document. It is a unique identifier for that document. So it will be used when we are canceling or to call back an invoice or so on. And the QR code would contain a validation link to Hassel portal where you can check if the invoice that has been received is valid or not. So this QR code would be basically a link with the UIN number of that invoice to the LHDN Myinvois Portal. And digital certificate, these are used in the production servers and not really required in the sandbox or testing servers. So there are 4 providers that are licensed to give digital certificates. So you'll have to opt with any one of these 4 certification authorities and get these certificates. So once you get a certificate, it will be valid for 3 years, and we can renew the certificate once it expires. And these digital certificates will be used to sign the invoice, so that when we send that invoice XML or JSON to LHDN, they would know that this invoice has been generated by your ERP and from your system itself, and not anybody is trying to fake the invoices by raising with your TIN number. So this is crucial, and it will be encryptedly stored as well. And there are 4 different types of documents in invoicing. One is invoices, which are issued for any sale transaction. So as usual, you will be issuing a lot of invoices right now. And there are credit notes. So credit note is the case where if you are trying to reduce the value of an invoice, you're trying to adjust the value of an invoice that has been already issued, but the adjustment is decreasing value, then you would be raising a credit note. And if you the debit notes are just the opposite of credit notes, where you're adjusting an invoice value due to any mistake or due to the change of business transaction, but you will be increasing the value of invoice. So if you're increasing the value of invoice by adjusting it, then you raise a debit note. But if you are decreasing the value of an invoice, then you raise a credit note. And what is refund notes? Refund notes comes into place where if you are returning the money back to the customer. So for example, you issued an invoice, 3 products, say for example, and the customer returned 1 product, and you give back the money back to the customer. In that case, you will have to raise a refund note and not a credit note. Okay. And what all transactions that are included in invoicing are B2B, all the transaction with any other business. Your B2C transactions, your retail transactions are also part of invoicing. The B2G transactions, self-billing. So self-billing is a key term in LHDN invoicing, whereas even if your supplier is part of a specific category, once they issue the invoice to you, you will have to create the invoice relevant to that transaction in order to claim the expenses. So self-billing is part of your invoicing. And export. Even if you export or deal with any foreign party, that would also be covered in LHDN invoicing. So I hope this basic key terms are clear, that we can move into much more advanced topics. So let's just assess if e-invoicing is applicable to you or not. So e-invoicing is applicable to everyone who is dealing with a business, be it trust, private limited, or any such company, apart from a few government entity. All other entities are part of LHDN invoicing. So the first category is 1st August 2024. So anybody with a turnover more than 100 million ringgits in 2022 financial year, or as part of their tax return, they have to comply within 1st August 2024. And if your turnover is between 25 million and 100 million ringgits, then you have to comply by 1st of January 2025. And if you are not part of both these categories, then you'll have to comply by 1st July 2025. And there is an option that you can voluntarily opt in early, even if e-invoicing is not applicable for you. It can be due to ease of business and so on. So you can opt in early as well if you wish to do so. And for businesses that started operating after 2022, then your applicability automatically starts from 1st July 2025 itself. Okay, so now let's see how can you submit invoices to LHDN. So there are mainly 2 methods that you can use to submit invoice to LHDN. One is through API integration. So this is ideal for businesses who have a lot of invoices. Say for example, when you create an invoice, it will be automatically integrated with LHDN, so that you don't have to manually enter it in Myinvois Portal. So as I mentioned, the next method is through Myinvois Portal. So it is basically suitable for small business if you have limited number of transactions. Say for example, monthly you just have 10 transactions or something like that, then it is easier for you to directly log into Myinvois Portal and manually enter the invoices over there. But anywhere above that, it is always better to have API integrations, because the manual errors and the ease of doing business is over there. So we'll be primarily focusing on API integration side, like how API integration can be done for B2B transactions, how API integration can be done for B2C transactions, AP self-built invoices, and how an AP integration is done by our Flick solution. So let's get started to the B2B uh, integration flow. Yes, so B2B e-invoicing. So we have three elements over here. One is your ERP, then our middleware solution, and LHDN. So how the ERP's invoices or the B2B invoices reaches to your LHDN is shown in this workflow. So from your AR invoice module inside your ERP, we'll be fetching the invoices using APIs, DB link, or SFTP. So if there is any possibility of using REST APIs directly from your ERP, then we'll be utilizing that APIs to send and fetch data to our solution. And from there, we'll be sending to LHDN. So once we fetch the data, we'll validate the data and check if the TIN number of the customer is valid. Then prepare the XML document that is required by LHDN in UBL 2.1 format, and sign the e-invoice using the digital certificate that we would be receiving from any one of the certified authority. And once it is signed, we are able to send that invoice to LHDN, who would then give a response with the validation link, unique identification number, and the issue and date and time of that e-invoice. So once we receive this clearance response from LHDN, either we can prepare the PDF with the QR at our middleware solution and deliver it through PayPal network, as we are PayPal certified access point, or we can email it directly to your customer as well. So this is one option. Or we can do one thing as well. We will be anyway sending the status message and the QR value and the unique ID back to your ERP. So using this data, you can prepare the PDF format at your site itself, and from there you can deliver it to your customer as you're doing right now. So for example, after getting the response, it will be directly updated inside your DB into any attributes or custom fields, from where we will be customizing your PDF current PDF format of your invoice to incorporate this additional information like UIN and QR code, so that you can issue the invoice directly from there. Okay, so this is all about how a B2B invoice transaction is set. So it's pretty much straightforward. You have to send your invoice to LHDN, get it validated by LHDN before you can give that invoice to your customer. And now to B2C transactions. So B2C e-invoices. So there is a difference between B2B transaction and B2C transactions. So any transaction that you deal with your retail customers or walk-in customer, you will have to, give the e-invoice even if it is requested by them, right? So in case of B2C, it is difficult for a business to give an e-invoice every time they issue an invoice. So in that case, LHDN has given an option. If the customer doesn't request you for an e-invoice, you can consolidate all the B2C invoices for that period and transfer it in bulk to Flick, from where we'll be sending it to LHDN. So during a period of month, from the month end, you have 7 days to send all these B2C invoices to LHDN. So if the customer, in case the customer requests for an invoice, then that specific invoice will be fetched from your ERP, will be sent to our solution, from where we'll be preparing all the necessary XMLs and signing on the procedures as explained in B2B process, and we'll be sending it to LHDN and getting the response back and sending it back to the ERP. But in case of consolidated, we'll be, in a single go, we'll be picking all the B2C invoices during that period, which for which we have not issued a separate e-invoice. So which all invoices are there, the remaining ones, we'll be picking that and sending it to LHDN and updating back the status to your ERP. So that's the key difference between a B2B transaction and a B2C transaction. So this is the primarily the main integration that happens within your ERP. And then additionally, we provide AP integration, which can be utilized for self-billing. So I'll just go through the self-billing process as well. So in case of AP self-billing e-invoices, once your vendor issues the e-invoice to you, and not the e-invoice, just a plain invoice, because there's few specific categories of transactions and few specific categories of vendors are not part of e-invoicing. Specifically, if you make any payments to the agents, if you make any purchases from foreign suppliers, if there is any profit distribution, if you are an e-commerce provider, and say for example you purchase from individual taxpayers, if you acquire any supplies from individual taxpayers, all this comes as part of your self-billing. So once your individual taxpayer, say for example, or your foreign supplier gives you an invoice, you enter that invoice in your uh, AP side of your ERP, and you can check a box where it says that it is an self-billed invoice, so that we'll pick that invoice using API debilling or whatever other integration is available in the ERP, and we will follow the same process like data validation and signing the invoice and sending it to LHDN, getting the response and getting it back to your ERP. You need not issue this invoice to your supplier, because they would be in a foreign country, or they wouldn't require an e-invoice. But to claim your expenses, you will have to send it to LHDN, and you will be getting your updated status, QR and everything inside your ERP, so that you can use it for your sales tax filing and so on. So in all these cases, everything will be archived for 7 years, even your invoices, B2B invoices, B2C bulk, consolidated invoices, all these will be archived in our solution for 7 years as mandated by LHDN. And we'll be providing a dashboard and reconciliation platforms, which we'll be going through in a bit in our dashboard. Okay. So this is about AP self-billing e-invoices. Now let's just see how we can utilize for domestic transactions of your AP. So even if your vendor is applicable for e-invoice, they would upload their invoices to LHDN, right? So when LHDN receives an invoice against your TIN number, LHDN would give a notification to your user. So Flick solution would fetch the data from this IRBM, which is LHDN itself. From IRBM notification, we would fetch this data to our solution, and it would be displayed on our AP dashboard. So you can view all the AP invoices that has been issued against your TIN, and you can view the details of that invoice, download the invoice directly from our dashboard. And if there is an AP integration, we can extend it to the point where we can create a draft AP invoice based on this notification received on your ERP, so that your user just have to review the details of that invoice and can approve and post it on your ERP. And from your ERP, you will be having direct options to submit it for cancellation. So once you raise a request for cancellation, that request will be received at our solution and will be sent to LHDN for cancellation. If it gets cancelled, then it would be updated on our dashboard and back to your ERP as well. So when a buyer requests for a cancellation, it doesn't get automatically cancelled. The supplier has to approve that cancellation in that case. So if he doesn't approve it and later point of time realizes the mistake, they can always raise a credit memo to try to cancel out that invoice. But if you notice the differences or mistake within 72 hours from the issuance of invoice, you have option to request for a cancellation, and the supplier can cancel it, or the supplier can itself request cancellation, which would get automatically cancelled without even the approval of buyer. So this is all about the flows or the workflows that are there in case of API integrations. So now let's just go through API demos that we have. So I'll just first take you through the documentation, and then to the Postman or any such API request center to take you through the APIs. So I'll just go to our documentation. So I hope my screen is visible with the documentations, right? I hope so.
That's good.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the first thing that we would need for any API integration with LHDN is to obtain a client ID and client secret. Most of you might have already got this client ID and client secret from LHDN. So you can, if you haven't received already, you can send an email to STK myinvoice at hassle.gov.my with these details: your TIN number, your BRN number, your company name, company email, and service provider name, such as Flick Solutions. So once you send this request to this email, they would share back with you the client ID and client secret. So this client ID and client secret would be used to generate access token that can be used to access the platform, or even for submitting the invoices. So to onboard your solution into our middleware, we would request these many details like your TIN number, your registered name of your business, registration number. It can be your BRN number, or any other document based on the entity type, and MSIC code, the 5-digit numeric code of your nature of business, the postal code, your contact number, the business activity, what type of industry you work in, and your client ID and client secret that you have received from LHDN. So I'll just directly go to Postman over here. This is called as Insomania, which is just like Postman, where we can send API requests. So I have a request over here with the BRN details and all other details that we just discussed. So if I send a request with this client ID and client secret, it would be authenticated at our side, and you would be receiving a supplier UUID. So this is just a one-time process of onboarding. So once you give these details, it would be encryptedly stored in our solution, and all your transactions from your ERP will be received with this UUID, which will match with your client ID and client secret, so that it would be accepted with LHDN. So if I go over here to LHDN access token, this we are sending directly to Myinvois Portal. So you can see the URL over here, and we have received our client ID and client secret already from LHDN. So if I click on send, this is what happens in the backend. So here you are not seeing all these things where we generate the access token and check everything. But here I'll just directly send this request to Myinvois Portal and see the response. So you can see Myinvois Portal response with an access token, which expires in 1 hour, and the token type and so on. So this access token will be generated each time when it gets expired based on the client ID and client secret that you give on onboarding. So every request to LHDN will be authenticated using this access token that will be generated using this URL over here. So once that is done, we are good to go with raising invoices, canceling invoices, creating credit notes, debit notes, and so on. So I'll just get to the next API, which is to submit an invoice. So for an invoice, we'll be fetching a lot of data from your ERP, right, which are related to that invoice. So for example, the ID of that invoice, you would be having a document number in your ERP which relates to that invoice. This is not the UIN. This is just the number that is issued by your ERP. Say for example, INV 12345 and 12346, 56, and so on. So it should be in a sequence, and this would be already there on your invoices, and the issue date and time of the invoice. So when this invoice was created in your ERP, that data would also be fetched. Then what is the invoice type code? So if it is an invoice, then we'll be accessing it as 01. So these codes are given by LHDN directly. So like 01 is for invoices, 02 is for credit notes, 03 is for debit notes, and 04 is for refund notes. So all these codes will be fetched based on the transaction type in your ERP. In this case, it will be 01. and what is the currency of your issuing the invoice, and invoicing period. So for example, the supply period of that invoice or the supply date of that invoice. And if it is a B2B transaction, we would be fetching the legal name, the customer TIN, city, and other address details with country sub-entity code and so on. So all this information will be fetching directly from your customer's master and sending it to the ERP. And the payment means, if you receive the payment in cash or any other means, so there are specific codes for each of these payment means. So based on that, we'll be capturing that code as well from your ERP and sending it to LHDN. And mainly for the line items in the invoice, we'll be capturing the item name or the service name, the quantity, the price, the tax type, if it is sales tax, service tax, or any other type of tax, and what is the percentage of that tax. So with this basic information, we will be generating the XML at our site, and in production we'll be having a certificate, right? So using that certificate, we'll be signing the XML before sending it to LHDN using the access token. So if I go over here to submit an invoice, so we have an ID of an invoice, the issue date and time, all other information that which I just mentioned on the API documentation. I have all these details over here. And if I just send this information, in the header part, I even have the suppliers, your UUID as well. So you can see over here, we received the status as success, and the UUID, the submission UUID is their invoice hash, the QR, and everything is there on the response. So this response is based on the response that we received from LHDN. So if I just take this QR over here and go back to any base64 image decoder, we'll be able to see the QR of that. So this QR is nothing but the LHDN, the Myinvois Portal with the UUID of that invoice. The UUID in this case is this over here. So this is the unique identifier of that invoice. And say, for example, there is a mistake in the data that we have fetched from your ERP. There is no worries, even if there is any mistake on the data. Say, for example, the customer TIN number is incorrect or anything like that, you would be receiving a validation error back to your ERP. So your user would know when he submits the invoice from your ERP, why it is not accepted. So this error is not coming from LHDN. We have around 2000 plus validations at our side before sending it to LHDN. So that as part of the data validation, we'll check everything that we have receiving from your ERP before sending it to LHDN. If we send this request to LHDN, it would get invalidated for sure because of the wrong TIN number. So all such cases we'll be checking before sending it to LHDN. So we have validation for almost all the multiple validations for all these fields, and this is just an example where if there is any mistake on line item or anything like that, then you will be receiving such easy to understand validation errors, because the errors from LHDN, it's hard to understand for an end user. So we are simplifying the error messages so that your user can fix it before resubmitting that invoice. And now let's go to the credit memos API, which is nothing but the same as invoice itself, but we would just have the invoice type code as 02, which would mean that it is a credit note, and we have reference to the original invoice number. So whatever invoice we are returning, that UUID of that, and in the internal ID. Internal ID would mean the invoice number which you have given during the issuance, right? That number and the UUID that we received, or the UIN that we received along with the invoice, needs to be submitted. And similarly, you would receive the QR and so on. So due to limited time, I'll just move forward with this. And debit notes as well, you just have to give the code as 03. I mean, we will set it as 03 from your ERP. So all the transaction type that are part of your debit note would be having 03 code coming from your ERP, so that when we parse at our side and do the validations, we'll check for all this information. And now to refund notes, again the same thing, but the type code will be 04. So in this case, you are returning the money back to the customer, and not just reducing the value of invoice like in credit note. So that's the difference between refund note, as I mentioned. So all these are the same thing itself. Say for example, if it, at credit note, if I just send the request, let's just wait for a couple of seconds. Yeah. So the couple of seconds takes place for the validation, preparing the XML, sending it to LHDN, getting back the response. So it's similar way you will receive the QR code and everything back to your ERP along with the UID and so on. And let's move on with the APIs. So if you want to cancel a document, we need to give the UUID of that invoice along with the status. So status will always be fixed to cancelled, and we have to give the reason for cancellation. So if I need to cancel a document, I just need to provide the UUID of that, and the status will be static always as cancelled. And the reason, if there is any wrong buyer details or something like that, we can send it. Okay, yes. So we have received success status with the UUID and the updated status from LHDN. So this just basically where you request for a cancel. You cancel an invoice. If you want to reject a document, from your ERP, we'll be sending this JSON format like the UUID of the invoice. So for example, you have AP integration and your supplier has sent an invoice against you, which you find has something mistake on that. So for example, invoice number, invoice date is wrong or something like that. Then you can give the reason like invoice date is wrong, please reissue, and you can submit it with the rejected status, which would be received by your supplier side, who can then cancel that document if he says that it is necessary to do so. So that's all about e-invoices. So I'll just show you one direct demo from LHDN portal directly. So all these APIs which you have seen is through our middleware. I have just a document over here with the base64 of that document. And in the authentication, the header part, I have given the access token that I have just generated over here. And if I send this JSON request, we will be able to see this is the direct response that we okay, this is too old, I guess. Yeah, the invoice date should not be too old. This specific base64 is too old over here. So when you issue a new base64 with the details, so if I just try to base64 decode this, just for the purpose of this demo, I'll just show. You can see this invoice is in April, so I'll have to convert this to June and create a create a hash for this and then submit it, so it would receive the submitted status. So that's basically it when sending the invoice to on Myinvois portal and receiving back the status. So I'll just with this basic ERP API demo, you would understand what data we are fetching from your ERP and what we are sending it to LHDN. But I'll just show you an ERP demo where this ERP is specifically for Oracle Fusion. So if anybody is using Oracle Fusion, they can directly relate to this demo. Or if you're using even any other ERP, you would be able to get an idea about what is happening inside your ERP. So how we directly integrate with your ERP. So I'll just skip to the part where the invoice is generated. So I'll just go to, so this is the invoice generation form inside or the module inside Oracle Fusion. So we have to select, the customer name, the line items details over here, and the payment terms and currency and all such things, the transaction date and so on. So once all this is created inside your ERP, just like how you usually do it, I'll just show you the notes as well. So currently inside the notes or any custom field inside your ERP. So most of the ERPs, we can create a custom field. Some ERPs, we are not able to create custom fields due to the nature of that ERP. So over here, you can see inside the notes, there isn't any entry as of now. So I'll just keep playing this invoice and complete this invoice. So once it is completed, due to the API integration, as you can see, inside your ERP directly, you would receive the response back. Like LHDN status over here shows as submitted, and the UUID of that invoice is directly over there. So why is this in submitted state? Is because I'll just show you the flow of invoice. So first it would be in submitted status. This means that it has passed the initial structure validations, and then we again send it for wait for the LHDN validation. So we would receive the valid response or invalid response from LHDN. So I'll continue playing this video over here. So since we received submitted status and UUID, we just have to close and reopen this box to get the updated status if it is valid or invalid. So I'll just keep on playing this video over here. Yes, so once we reopen, we can see the status as valid and the QR is updated along with the UUID, which was already over there. So this QR updated would mean that your PDF invoice in your ERP would now have this QR code based on the UUID of that invoice. So if we click on view image or any such PDF link for PDF viewing option inside your ERP, inside the PDF, there would be the QR code of that invoice along with the UUID, which would be linking to Myinvois Portal. So even if you have custom fields just like this, I'll just show you a custom field as well. So over here in this invoice, inside show more, in Oracle Fusion, there is an option called as show more, where we can create additional fields. So we have created a custom field over here called as LHDN E-Invoicing, which can also be used to update the status. Even if all this is not possible, we can create a custom table inside your DB and update the status and QR values over there for e-invoicing purposes. So this is just for Oracle Fusion. I'll just show what all other integration methods are there for others major ERPs used in Malaysia, which are Oracle EBS. So for Oracle e-Business Suite, we would be generating a custom Java concurrent program, which would fetch the data using a PLSQL package. So all the information related to that specific invoice based on the button click would be picked through PLSQL package, and through Java concurrent program, the API request will be sent to Flick Portal, and from there to LHDN, and we'll send the response back to your ERP in case of Oracle EBS. And if you are using SAP Business One, then we use extension manager using the site B1 user. We would create an extension manager where we will be fetching the data to a JSON format, sending it to our APIs, and from there we'll be updating back the response to SAP B1 based on the response from the API. If you are using SAP S4HANA, then we will be creating a custom Z program. So whatever T code you're using for creating your invoices, say if it is VF01 or VF02, from there we'll be creating a custom Z program where you can submit this invoice to our Flick portal, and from there it will be submitted to LHDN, and you will have all your responses directly back to your ERP, so that you don't have to leave your ERP to view the status or to get the invoice details or anything like that. And if you are using Microsft Dynamics F&O, we'll create a package using Dynamics code X++. So this code would send the API request and fetch the data from your ERP, the Dynamics F&O, and send it to our portal and get the response updated back to F&O's custom field based on a table. If you are using EPICOR ERP, if you are using EPICOR Kinetic, then we'll be using Kinetic App Studio to fetch the data, make the customizations on your ERP, like creating the button where you can submit it to invoice, create the button where you can click that button to cancel that invoice, to receive API integration, all such things. For all these ERPs, we will be using the customized format for that ERP. And if you are using Prophet 21 of EPICOR, which is for a niche sector of industries, we'll be using DynaChange to make all the necessary changes in your EPICOR ERP. And if you're using any other ERP, be it standard like Infor, we have our own team for all these ERPs, and more ERPs, where we can create the integration directly on your ERP, so that your technical team or your IT department need not involve in any aspect of e-invoicing, and everything from end-to-end integration will be taken care by our team. If you are using a custom ERP, we'll be connecting directly to the DB of that, or if we can have REST APIs on that custom ERP, we'll be utilizing that. If we are able to save the JSON file or XML file directly to any folder, we'll be using SFTP protocols, SFTP port to send that invoice details to our server, from where it will be sent to LHDN, and we can directly write back the status to that specific folder. And if it is any other custom solution, we'll have to develop custom development codes based on the source code. If you have access to the source code based on the programming language used, we'll be developing based on that. Okay, now I'll take you through the walkthrough through our dashboard. So even though all your data is directly available inside your ERP, you'll be always having an access to our dashboard, which I'll just reload over here. So over here, you will be having a view of all the invoices that has been generated during the month for that year, and a pie chart showing all the invoices that has been generated till now with valid, invalid, or failed statuses. And in AR document, you'll be able to see all the e-invoices that has been created from your ERP till now. And you have different filters over here for sales invoices, credit notes, debit notes, refund notes, based on status. Say for example, it is valid. If you have submitted but LHDN has not given you the valid response till now, then it would be in submitted status. If it is invalidated by LHDN, it would be over there. But this invalidated status would be very minimal, because we have validations for all the fields with us. And the failed status, if the API itself is in responding, it will be in failed status. And cancelled, as you know, if you your buyer has requested for the cancellation and you have approved it, it would be in cancelled state. And you have date filters over here, and you can search for invoices as well. So over here, against each invoice with the basic detail of that invoice, we have trial and view. So say for example, if this invoice is cancelled over here, so if I click on trial, I'll be able to see when this invoice was received from my ERP, and when it was submitted to LHDN, when it was shared with customer, if it is shared through PayPal network, since we are certified access point, and if you received the cancel request, when you receive the cancel request from customer, and when you have accepted that cancel request. So all such audit trails are directly available inside our dashboard. And if you want to view the details of an invoice, you can click on view, which would give you the line items of that invoice, the party details of that invoice, with along with the QR and the UUID of that invoice, and the direct status from LHDN would be over here. And you have option to cancel that invoice from here, download the XML file, or if we are generating the PDF file, you can click download PDF to directly download the PDF with the file over the PDF with the face to the QR over there. And inside the AP, if you have AP integration, all the invoices that has been generated by your supplier would be available over here. And if you want to cancel any invoice, you can request for cancellation from here. And the cancellation countdown would be over here, how much time is remaining for you to cancel this invoice, because there is only 72 hours that is there to cancel. And if you click for request for cancellation, you have to give the reason for cancellation. Based on the reason, you can click for submit for cancellation, where the request will be sent, and once it is accepted by your supplier, it would be available in cancel status. And if the direct access to your ERP is there, we'll be directly updating the cancelled status once it is approved by your supplier directly to your ERP. So your end users need not come over our dashboard. So this can be used as a tool for your management or any supervisor to see all the invoicing statuses, or your tax manager to see all the invoices that has been raised during the period, all the invoice that has been raised against you, the purchase invoices over here, and so on. So this is The login to this portal is through a username and password, which we'll be giving you on onboarding time. So that's all about dashboard. There is more into this dashboard, like reconciliation and so on. Due to the limited time, I'll just move to the features that we offer in our e-invoicing solution. So as I mentioned, we have in-house ERP team. So we have team for customizing your ERP for all major ERPs, be it SAP, Oracle, EPICOR, Infor, or any other ERP. We have the team, internal team to do that. So you don't have to deal with any other third party in order to make the integration available in your ERP side. And we provide on-premise and on-cloud. If you have restrictions from a government authority or due to your business nature, we can provide our solution in on-premise server that you provide, or it can be in cloud server if you don't want to manage the solution as well. And we have our 2000 plus validations before sending any invoice to LHDN, so that the rejection rates are pretty much nil. And we can deliver the invoice by email or PayPal network. As I mentioned, PayPal Flick is certified access point. I'll just show you in PayPal website directly itself. We are not just a PayPal member, but we are PayPal certified access point. So you can visit PayPal's website, and in PayPal certified solution providers, you can search for Flick and we'll be able to see our listing over there. I'll get back to the features. And dashboard and reconciliation. So our dashboard provides reconciliation with your ERP data, so that it can provide insights like which all invoices has been not sent to LHDN, what all purchase invoice has been raised for you, but you haven't entered in your ERP. All such reconciliations and dashboard will be available on our portal. And we have our offices directly in Malaysia, so you can deal with the ease of business is there when dealing with us. And integration for purchases. So as I mentioned, not just AR side of your customer invoices, but we integrate even with your AP side, so that both the self-billing scenarios or the invoices that has been created by your supplier all are integrated to a single point where it can be easily managed to file your taxes and so on. And we comply with all the security guidelines issued by MDEC and LHDN. And we provide our own ticketing platform. You can call us, as we are locally present, you can easily call us. You can email or raise a ticket through our ticketing platform for any support request that is there. And here are the list of few of our customers globally. So we have worked with Fortune 500 companies, listed companies, major automobile companies, insurance companies, banking companies, oil and gas sector. So all we have the industry experience as well, working with all these customers globally. And it would be beneficial to give direct advice based on the industry that you are in. So almost all industry that we have covered during all these years of our expert integrations and compliance side of e-invoicing. And here are a few of the ERPs which we have the internal team to do integration. As we mentioned, we have Business One, S4HANA, R3, ECC. If you are using Oracle NetSuite, JDE, Oracle Fusion, which we have shown the video over here, but we have already done multiple integration for all these ERPs, be it Oracle EBS, Dynamics F&O, NAV, or Business Central, Dynamics AX, EPICOR, Kinetic, Prophet 21, or any other EPICOR ERP as well, Infor LN or Sun Systems, Wincor POS systems. So even if you are in a retail segment, we have worked with multiple POS systems like Xstore, Oracle Xstore, Wincor, and if you are using IFS ERP, we have team for that, LS Central Retail, Invoices, Sage system, or any such custom ERPs or POS systems that you are using in your business, or be it e-commerce websites like Magento or something like that. We have integrated with all such ERPs or POS systems or e-commerce systems before. So we can easily directly integrate with your system as well. So we have around 5-6 minutes left in this demo, so we can get into the Q&A session. So if there is any questions that you wanted to ask during our previous slides, you may raise your questions now or unmute yourself and ask it.
Thanks, Irshad. So we have some questions. Maybe we can start from the
Okay.
box while we were having our session. It's from WeSyn. So POS transaction, since it's a B2C in nature, so we do not need an API integration, right? So what's your answer for that, Irshad?
Yes. So for B2C transactions, say for example, when you're using a POS, you might be on a retail segment, supermarket or something like that. So when you're making an invoice for an individual seller, if I go to a retail supermarket and purchase something for my personal purpose, I wouldn't request for an invoice, right? So in such cases, you can consolidate and send this invoice to LHDN and no need to issue an invoice on that spot. So once the POS transactions are fully completed, you would be having a back office for your POS transaction from where all the branches invoices will be consolidated into a single database, your back office database for backup purposes and archiving purposes. So we can directly connect to that back office DB, and from there fetch all the invoices and consolidate these B2C invoices and send it to LHDN for validation purpose and update it directly back to your back office DB. So there need not be a direct integration with your POS system in that case. So I hope that is clear. If you have need more clarity, just let me know.
Right. So let's jump into the next one. So it's from Noor. When can I reject invoices?
So once your suppliers give you the invoice for against your TIN number, you can reject the invoice within 72 hours. Even if you issue the invoice to any customer, you have 72 hours to cancel that invoice.
Okay.
So there is a 72 hours window. It can be directly available in your ERP. So whenever you are raising an invoice, we'll be adding the cancellation till what time you can cancel that invoice in your ERP to a custom field, so that you can know that if you have eligibility to cancel that invoice, or you can directly come to our portal where the cancellation countdown is available. So to see if cancellation is available or not for that specific invoice.
Right. So the last one in our chat comment box section, it's from Ms. Vivian. So please advise why you would choose an API approach rather than a direct Myinvois Portal. What would be the disadvantage using the direct Myinvois Portal?
Yes. So in case you're opting for manually entering your invoices to Myinvois Portal, there are few disadvantages. One, your books of accounts would have one value and your Myinvois Portal would have one value. So for example, due to manual errors when entering the invoices, it is a manual task as well. You'll have to enter the data into your books of accounts and you'll have to again enter the data back to the Myinvois Portal as well. So it is double work already. So once you invest for an API integration, all this happens seamlessly. The current process that you are doing right now in your ERP, you can enter all the invoices as it is, and from there it will be automatically integrated with LHDN with the right values right from your ERP, and you have many options to reconcile with your books of accounts, so that you know that your books of accounts is accurate and the tax inputs that you're claiming and the tax output that you're paying is accurate with all aspects, like be it AP or AR side. Both these would be completely integrated to a single portal, and you have many advantages like canceling an invoice directly from your ERP, and all such things are an added advantage if you move on with an API approach. But even if you have, I would recommend Myinvois Portal approach, directly entering to Myinvois Portal only if you have, say for example, less than 10 invoices per month. Anything above that, it is better to have an API integration, because due to the value that needs to be done, the reconciling benefits that you have, and the ease of integration, all such things would be there. Yeah.
Thanks, Irshad.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So can I choose? Vivian has a follow-up question based on your answer. Can I choose to use Flick but not sign up with PayPal?
Definitely, you can. PEPOL is an added feature that we give, based on the direct discussion with MDEC in Malaysian authority. We understand that they're more focusing on a PEPOL network approach in the future, in the coming future, maybe in 2027 or something around that. So we suggest if you have the right ERP to move with PEPOL network, but if not, it is directly it's perfectly fine. You can even sending the invoice via email to the customer is also optional feature provided by us, so you can opt in and opt out for any feature that you wish to have. So PayPal is optional for you. You can opt in or opt out based on your company's policy or interest.
Thanks, Rishad. Thank you, Vivian, for
Yeah.
the questions. I think we went through quite a number of features and functionalities, and also what are the approach that would help your organization meet the requirements set by the government. I think this is one of the advantage that Flick brings. Sometimes if you were to bring on an inexperienced, or for example, a solution provider who's doing this for the first time, they might develop a clunky integration that might cause you some future data inconsistencies, or might give you some manual repetitive tasks to do in the future. But I think we went through, Flick has had tons of experience working with really large organization, so that can have or go through with this journey with no errors, no frustration, but most importantly, you can comply with the requirements provided by LHDN. With the number of functionalities that we have, this could also set your organization up for future enablements. Some of the functions and feature may not be required now, but LHDN might continue to update the compliances or whatever necessary along this whole e-invoicing journey for the coming 1 or 2 years. So with Flick's experience operating around this, by providing solution for organization globally, we know the best approach that would suit your organization within your industry, that you may be able to meet the requirements without having any gaps in your function or features. But most importantly, with proper communication and follow-up, transparency with what we do, I think with Flick, you would be able to have a very transparent approach. Any disruptions or issues would be at a minimal, because, again, we're coming with tons of experience rolling out this solution for many other large organizations. So we have also had a look at a very specific use case in terms of demo. For those who wish to see a demo particularly or very specific to the ERP system that you're using, I think we can arrange a follow-up meeting and have a much more individualistic demo session that we can showcase to you how our middleware solution could work perfectly with your ERP system. Then maybe we can have or address some of the questions that you might have concerning to your organization. So thanks again for everyone for joining. It's been a great session so far. I think we had a lot of information being shared. Feel free to drop any questions. We will be planning to reach out to you and plan a follow-up meeting, see how we can be of help to your organization throughout this journey. So thanks again. We don't want to take much of your time. Appreciate all of you to be present here. I hope you all have a great good weekend there. So thanks again. Take care, everyone. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye.
Goodbye, everyone.